Hey there, everybody. Welcome back once again. Thanks for tuning in. Your first time watching, welcome to the Readman Report. As usual, I'm your host, Readman, and I'd like to take a minute to talk about some things again, as why not? So, leave me a like. If you haven't subscribed, if you just happened on this channel randomly, it'd be really cool if you subscribed, and leave a comment, because that's cool too. Yeah. So the reason for this video, it's tying into a bit of a theme lately that's been catching my eye, is about the electric vehicle industry, which is pretty cool. Electric vehicles, very cool indeed. I think they have a potential to make things better, and like just ecologically, and different things like that. So what's happening right now? I mentioned this in my other video. How Joe Biden and the White House, they're doing the Build Back Better thing, and part of it is they want to make apparently 500,000 charging network stations, which is very cool. So the Build Back Better Act, I think I talked about that before. I can Google that when you got a minute. Includes $7.5 billion for EV infrastructure and $7.5 billion to electrify public transport. So that's pretty cool. So what they're saying is, it's just me kind of reading an article here and giving my take on it, right? So it says the Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm and Pete Buttigieg will sign an agreement to leverage. You can pause it and read it if you want. And what they're saying is they want to make the overall goal, take the number of charging stations from 100,000 to 500,000. That's cool. So they want stakeholder input. They're talking. It's kind of one of those things. It's like this is like what goes into the sausage, right? Anyway. So that was one kind of thing I was kind of looking at, how that's kind of cool. So it all depends on if that Build Back Better thing gets passed, which I don't really know how that's gonna. That would be good if it did. It would be a good thing. Definitely, it needs to be a lot more, but maybe in Biden's second term they can work on that, right? Yeah, and not to kind of double dip. But yeah, I saw like in the other video, like this whole thing had Elon Musk a little upset because it's gonna like impact him, right? Because then he'll have actual competition more, and he's like, that's not fair. But anyway, it was just him coping about that. That was from the last video. And I guess there's one other part here, I guess we'll talk about. And it was kind of funny because of all things, it was on CNN. Chris Taliza, he's pretty. This would be like Chris Cringula. He's. But I just wanted to see here because they're talking about the Senator Rand Paul, who, again, for those not in the know, he's like this libertarian, guy who is like, reactionary, kind of like anything the government does ever is always bad. Like that's kind of his whole shtick. But now, and this is pretty tragic, that there was that big tornado that touched down in Kentucky, and many people are missing and dead and wounded and damaged and all that regrettable stuff. And it says in here, it says when it happens to your state, and all of a sudden, oh no, I'm going to abandon my so-called principles, right? But there was one aspect of it where this guy...
Hours after a devastating December tornado tore through Kentucky, causing more than 200 miles of destruction, Senator Rand Paul was asking President Joe Biden for aid from the federal government. Now, this is pretty standard stuff, except for the fact that it came from Rand Paul. Because the Kentucky senator, who hails from the first family of American libertarians, has a long record of opposing federal aid for disaster victims, except, apparently, when it impacts his constituents. Suddenly, all those reflexive attacks on socialist big government spending don't seem to apply.
Okay.
But after Superstorm Sandy, it was a climate crisis that so many in the GOP still deny. This isn't complicated, folks. It's common sense. Government exists in large part to help each other in times of great need. This isn't some left-wing vision. Listen to the Kentucky-born Abraham Lincoln, who believes that the legitimate object of government is to do for a community of people whatever they need to have done, but cannot do at all or cannot do so well do for themselves in their separate and individual capacities. That's exactly the situation in Kentucky right now, with people reeling from the deadliest tornado in the state's history. They need help, and that's what they'll get, because it's consistent with our character as a country. We come together in times of crisis, helping our fellow citizens recover and rebuild without playing red state v. blue state political games. That's why we call it the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that's your reality.
Yeah, now I know it's CNN, right? But, oops.
Speaker, Mark.
There was something you said, though. It was, maybe I didn't go to the right spot. It was like, maybe it was right here.
Hours after, for me, but not for the hypocrisy or elsewhere. Now he wants the Fed's filthy lucre as fast as possible. Joining him in this ideological flip-flop is Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, best known for his gun-toting family Christmas card. Now, this is worse than simple hypocrisy or situational ethics. It exposes the core callousness of calling government aid some kind of big-spending socialist scheme, because it always seems to be socialism for me, but not for thee.
There you go.
Case in point.
Yeah, like that's kind of the whole thing I thought was funny about that, is how suddenly it's not socialism anymore when he's the one that needs help from the government. And that's kind of a broader theme. It's like, you know, there's an entire movement out there who's like, if it's the government, it's automatically socialism. Like, it's silly. Yeah, I guess that's kind of just a couple of quick topics I wanted to briefly discuss. And, you know, I'm just going to say, like, I know I use CNN, I use Wikipedia, and, you know, you got to use resources. I mean, and I understand that they have biases and they're not perfect, but I guess that'll have to be enough for now. So, anyway, I appreciate if anybody happen to stop by and watch my little ramble. And once again, I appreciate it if you leave a like, you can comment, I'll probably respond back. I mean, you know, could do worse, right? So we'll leave it at that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Peace out, and have a good night.